This week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast is brought to you by listeners like you. Head on over to patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast and subscribe today. Fans, founders, and insiders like you help us keep the Run, Eat, Drink podcast going, and we thank you for your support.
Hello, this is Marco Cesero, and welcome to Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
Welcome to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We feature destination races from across the country. And after the race, we take you on a tour of the best local food and beverage to celebrate. So whether you are an elite runner or a back of the packer like us, you'll know the best places to accomplish, explore, and indulge on your next runcation. Hey, welcome to episode 159 of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. I'm your host, Aimee.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
Welcome to the show. We're happy to have you here.
And it's a flurry of activity in the studio. We have...
Is it?
Yeah, well, we have dogs, we have cats, we have us. And I think for the first time, this is the first episode that we've recorded with all of the technology installed and working correctly.
And you just love it.
Yes, the only thing left for me to do is some cable management, and I am waiting on some cables to arrive. But other than that, the tech is working, and I hope that the listeners can hear a difference or not hear a difference. Don't hear the technology in the background. It's all the beauty of getting some upgrades is that our tech is quieter. So you hopefully aren't hearing anything like fans in the background from a computer that we're making cry.
Yes. We have a new computer in our, the computer that we used for a long, long time.
That computer lasted us for 9 years, almost 10.
Yeah, it was time.
And it's now getting its second wind as a back of office computer at one of our favorite restaurants here in Cape Coral. They were kind enough to take it off our hands.
Yay, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
So yeah, I'm probably more excited about that than you are.
Well, I'm excited that you made it on to another podcast this week.
It has been a flurry of activity. Period. Yeah, I got to sit down Sunday night for, close to 90 minutes.
It was, you all just kept talking and talking and talking because you love...
Is that your way of telling me I'm long-winded?
No, because all three of you, James J. Williams, his co-host Brian, I think Sarah had class and whatnot, and she was a busy mother and student, and she's a workaholic and just not...
Somebody had to be the responsible adult.
Yeah, she is like just working her butt off. So I don't mean that in a not workaholic. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's entirely a compliment.
It is. And James was kind enough to let me come on to the show over there for his segment called Self-Respecting Men Who Love Disney as part of the Mouse Ears and Magic podcast.
And you all talked Marvel and Disney and DC, and
we did go down a couple of rabbit holes, most of which were were Disney or in the Disney wheelhouse. We did go off on some tangents, but we brought it back.
Yeah.
And apparently I was a little controversial, come to find out.
Yes, there are things in the park
things were
said. You want to eliminate that.
That is not true. I do not
Other people would say, them's fighting words.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I cannot thank James enough for inviting me over to talk with them about stuff that I absolutely love and am passionate about, and it was a blast.
And you can see it all on the Mouse Ears and Magic YouTube channel, or you can listen to it if you're in however your podcasts or wherever your podcasts are served. It's the Mouse Ears and Magic podcast, and James J. Williams and his crew, we can't thank them enough.
No, that was a absolute blast. Please go check it out. Give them some love. I do have a face for radio, so by all means, if you want to just listen, I don't blame you one bit.
I just love to see your facial expressions on that show.
I was looking at the camera as much as I could, but then you get distracted when you look at the computer screen because it's not exactly where the camera is.
That's true.
So it looks sometimes like I'm looking off,
in the distance.
Thinking,
You're pensive.
Yes.
You're so pensive.
I look like I'm shooting a Christian rock CD cover, just looking off into the distance. I should just be standing with my hands in my pockets on a beach somewhere.
Fancy photography.
Yes.
Anyway, yes, I recommend both the YouTube version and the podcast version. I just think it was a good time to listen to all of you talk about Disney and Marvel and DC and just such great people over there. And yeah, I can't thank them enough.
Yeah, it's been a big week, and it really started for us on Saturday.
Yes, if we're looking ahead to what we're actually going to talk about on the show today, the show proper, we have a local 5K that was live, a smaller race called the Run for the Youth 5K that benefits the Sheriff's Youth Activity League. And we got to participate in that, and we got to see a member of the Runcation Nation showcase some talent we'll talk about.
Yes.
And then we went not too far, I would say, because it's almost Easter, a hop, skip, and a jump.
I see what you did there.
To a great breakfast spot that was recommended by a friend of the podcast, which we will talk about.
Yes. A friend of the podcast many of you may know.
So Bullig Coffee and Bites we're going to get into today in terms of food and beverage. Very cool.
Yes.
Not tasty, cool. My adjectives are just running out right now.
That's okay. It's been a long day, and you've been hard at work on the show, hard at work on recovery, hard at work on all that stuff. And before we get into the run proper, why don't you give everybody a little update on the recovery and your therapy journey?
I've been going to therapy for several months, as you all know, if you have been listening to the show for any length of time.
Physical therapy
to rehab my knee that I got scoped back in December. And I've had ups, I've had downs. I felt really strong some weeks, and some weeks I've had setbacks, and this just happens to be a week where, don't get me wrong, she put me through her paces, through the paces, whatever, however that saying goes. I had physical therapy. Bosu ball.
I was going to say
brought to you by the Bosu ball.
Yeah, who knew the paces involved a Bosu ball?
Lots of balance and a lot of balance work, and who knew that involved your hips and your glutes and your quads and your hamstrings.
So you found new muscles
that I think have been dormant, and they're just waking up and going, what? What is happening right now? I don't know. And so, yeah, I've been in a lot of pain, soreness, like that whole weakness leaving the body thing. I don't know, whatever that saying is. But I've also had a setback in terms of some patellar tendonitis. Yeah. So she said, you're not ready to run yet. And that's hard for me to hear.
Sure.
It's a mixture of ups and downs from this week.
Well, that's a good assessment. That said, you got some extra workout in as a result, even though you didn't run. And that moves us into the actual 5K that we did for this week's run. And I was fortunate enough to hear about this from a member of the Runcation Nation.
And who was that?
Christy Van Allen messaged us and said, hey, we're doing this. And then you simultaneously got a message.
Hey, are y'all coming to this 5K, this Run for the Youth that's put on by the Sheriff's Office to benefit their Youth Activity League? Because I'm going to sing that national anthem.
Yeah, that would be Harley Running Gal on Instagram.
That's Jessica Lynn O'Keefe.
Yes.
And she messaged me at the same time Christy was messaging you, and it was just like everything came together.
Yeah.
And so we just agreed to do it 100%. We wanted to be there to be with members of the Runcation Nation whenever we can. We always want to try and do that. And also to support members of the Runcation Nation.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was a great opportunity for us to not only meet up with members and support them, but also support a really great cause. The Lee County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's Youth Athletic League. Mm-hmm. You know, this supports a lot of their youth programs. And while we were there at the beginning of the race, it was being the big hello and welcome speech. We learned that just the race entry fees from that event were going to raise $7,000 for their programs.
That's fantastic when you think about what those programs can do for kids.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, as a law enforcement officer and somebody who's overseen youth programs in the past for the department, I can tell you that kind of money is huge because those programs are very important to help get at-risk youth off the streets and into something constructive, maybe get them on a career path, maybe
focused on helping others.
Instilling those keystone
teamwork
ideals of teamwork and leadership and charity and all of those things. And those programs are very often, as much as we want them, those are not usually considered essential services in most agencies. And they rely on the generosity of donors very often to supplement the meager budgets that the agencies give them. So
we were happy to come out and support, and we were happy to hear that number.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big number for one day. It really is.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very excited that we got to do that. But we did a live stream.
We did.
And if you go back and look at our Instagram TV video from Saturday, you'll actually see Jessica's performance of the national anthem.
Yay. We're so proud of her. She's so talented.
Who knew the pipes on her?
Yeah.
I was like, man.
It was amazing. I loved it.
And it was
so proud and happy to see her shine in that moment. And where some members of the Runcation Nation are going through struggles right now. And some people share out there on social media. I share about struggles because right now coming back to running is a real struggle for me. And Jessica has been so real out there on social media about needing support, about giving support. And she is just one of those people that has a heart of gold, would do anything for anybody.
Absolutely.
And we know so many runners virtually like that out here in the Runcation Nation that are listening to the show right now. And it was so great to be able to be there and support her and watch her shine in person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it just makes me happy.
And the event itself was held at the Calusa Nature Center and Planetarium.
Yeah. I didn't really look at the course.
Prior to us going, you mean?
Prior to us going. You picked up the packets, and then prior to us, I was like, okay, it's going to be on a enclosed in the Calusa Nature Center, so it's got to be great, right? You don't have to come back cars. You don't have to. There's not a whole lot of like traffic control that needs to be done. But there were other challenges. So I don't know. I'll tell you first, when you brought home the packets, I really like the shirt.
I like certain aspects of the shirt.
Yeah, even though it's cotton, I like the color.
I like
that
color.
olive color.
Yes.
That olive color is great.
We've had a request for an olive drab green
I know.
shirt. We're still working with our friends at Pure Creative Apparel to find the right one that's going to look right and be right. So we were excited to get this one. Go, ooh, this is really nice. And then we're like, oh, it's a cotton shirt. Okay, I can wear it. I can wear it in my off time. I'm not going to run in it.
Right.
No big deal.
Because bad things happen when you run in cotton in Florida.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. So
100%. But I went and did the packet pickup. They had a packet pickup afternoon over at a United Way office in a upscale shopping center here in Fort Myers, or over in Fort Myers, called the Bell Tower Shops. I had never been there before. Didn't know that it was there. So I went.
This United Way office.
The United Way office.
Yeah.
So went there, found that it was effortless. There was no problem with packet pickup whatsoever.
Nice and smooth. And you could pick up your packet the morning of.
Yes, they did have morning of pickup. Packet pickup. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah.
And that I know most races have it. It's nice when races are really well-oiled machines, because some people just can't get off work a midweek packet pickup before an event. So
it's good.
Nice to see that.
Yeah.
So I got the packets.
Yeah.
Great shirt for after race wear. We get there that morning. The Calusa Nature Center is it's in Fort Myers. It's in a area of Fort Myers that's seen a lot of growth over the last 15 years or so.
That's true.
There's literally a Tesla dealership right across the street from it, so that's new. But the preserve itself is just this. It's tucked away like behind these pine trees, and you go back there and they've got classroom space and they've got the planetarium.
It feels secluded, almost like summer camp.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like you're running in a summer camp.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there were indoor bathrooms that we had access to prior to the race starting.
Good facility. I didn't go in.
It was a good facility. Yes.
Better than a porta potty.
Yes. I will say that.
Okay.
Yes. Having said that, I will say I think it's a good rule of thumb to always have maybe a package of travel tissues on you.
Aimee does have like certain things, like life hacks that she does, and the little travel Kleenex style tissues that you can throw in your purse or in your backpack or whatever. She always keeps a set of those with her.
It's necessary, and I won't go into why. But you can fill in the blanks, so there you go.
Indeed. Pro tip from Aimee. Love that.
Well, it's just, I'm just saying, learn from experience.
But it was a great course. You started out inside the nature preserve, and you basically did it was
flat. That was a road or a paved area.
The first couple 100 yards was paved, but very potholy.
Yeah.
So that wasn't super level. But then you go out to a linear park that's on the exterior perimeter of.
And that was flat.
The preserve.
Nothing you really had to look out for. Very good. And there was plenty of direction and guidance on the course.
Yeah, much like the race that we did here in Cape Coral, Lee County Sheriff's Office had a number of deputies as well as their police explorers out doing traffic direction and marking points of safety along the course.
Or where there was a place where you could go right or left, where you're going to go, there was somebody there to guide you. So that was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that first part is paved. Then there's a side road that goes between the preserve and a golf course.
Yeah.
Straight, flat, paved, no problem. So your first 2 legs of the rectangle or the square are flat, paved, well lit, well marked. And then you come to this police explorer.
Yeah.
Who's standing next to an arrow.
It's great.
That's pointing.
Just directing us right
to turn
into
left.
A trail.
Right onto a trail.
It's a trail.
Aimee did her first trail run.
Part of it
for the show
was a trail run. I didn't know, or maybe I knew, maybe I didn't think about it. I didn't look at the course. I didn't read the literature. I was like, great. It's a live race. I can walk it. Nobody's going to chase me off. We get to meet up with members of the Runcation Nation. I'm in.
So let's talk about the trail. This trail, if you were watching the live stream, it was pretty straight, but that didn't really give you the full character of what we were running on. Here in Florida, this time of year, it's pretty dry. And when the scrub pines and everything, that area, that preserve, when that gets dry, the sand the soil is very sandy here. And when you get a lot of the sand, we call it sugar sand here for a reason. It's a lot like white sugar. It's very loose. It moves under your feet.
Yeah.
And it can be a bit unstable. And all along this course, there were tree roots.
Great.
All along the course. But there was something very nice about that.
I would say that the race organizers and everybody, they came together and decided to take spray paint, and where the roots were, they spray painted so that you could know what to avoid, and you could see the contrast between the ground and the tree roots that are coming on the path.
They did that for a good mile, I think. Mm-hmm. It was very well done.
And where there was sugar sand or holes in the trail, holes in the ground of the trail, they had police explorers telling us what to avoid.
They were basically human traffic cones, but they were doing a great job.
Yeah.
And as you're running along the course, I'm of course narrating it. I'm like Steve Irwin, like, crikey, look over here, but
you were just hoping to see wildlife.
I was, admittedly. I'm kind of the science nerd of the couple, and I was hoping we might get to see some cool animals.
Nope.
And as we're going along the course, they even have signs denoting the fact that a female alligator that's nesting has been spotted in the area, and people should avoid it
like the plague.
And that is a good rule of thumb. Mm-hmm. So we didn't see the alligator.
No.
And you made it through that.
And if you were a part of the live stream, I apologize, because a majority of the time you saw me with my eyes on the ground. You saw the top of my head or the back of my head the entire time, because I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to go and make the same error that I made in Atlanta and not look where I was going.
She was not going to roll an ankle today. Mm-mm. That wasn't happening.
No.
So
and that walking, because Kristen said, you better walk.
And you did. Mm-hmm. So basically, you ended up doing a loop. It took us back literally to where we started, and then we had to go and do a little out and back segment.
Yes, by just paralleling the nature
preserve.
Yeah, preserve, and but also along. It was a path that paralleled one of the busiest highways we have.
Yeah. It was part of that linear park that we were talking about. It was a paved mixed use path.
Yeah,
that was the time that we ended up running into our Runcation Nation members.
Yes. So that was a little bit of an out and back where we saw people coming back to the finish of the race.
And everybody was so positive.
So we saw everybody was cheering us, the police along the course, the sheriffs along the course, they were cheering us, the police explorers, we saw Christy Van Allen, who was just giving us the high five, and some runners we didn't even know who were like, yeah, you're doing great. You're almost there. The turnaround is just up here. Everybody was very positive, including in the last, what was it, 2/10 or
about a quarter
of a mile. Jessica, our songbird, coming to us with water.
Yeah.
On the course and running us into the finish, or actually telling us to take it easy and make sure that Aimee walks. And
she was coaching you on your stride lengths and the whole 9 yards. She wasn't going to let you push too hard.
Right. Yeah. Don't get a large stride. And I can see that you're healing well, but you keep it small. You keep those steps small and everything will be fine. And it was great.
Yeah.
It was great to run in with you and everybody on the live stream and Jessica. And there was no finisher medal, but there didn't need to be.
Right.
there didn't need to be. I would rather that money go to the youth programs, and I would rather have the human interaction that we had that day.
Yeah, it was a great local event. I am sure that in your respective areas, wherever you might be listening, you probably have a similar charity run happening, whether it's a Sheriff's Youth Athletic League, Sheriff's Youth Ranch, Police Athletic League, or Police Explorer program very often. And if you have the opportunity to do one of those races, those programs really rely on donations and fundraising through things like this.
Yeah.
So can't urge you enough to check that out. This was a great event. I would do it again.
Yes.
I enjoyed the course. I thought that the sheriff's office did an amazing job at organizing, and a shout out also to the Fort Myers Track Club. They were the ones doing the chip timing as well as setting up the
mats, the timing mat.
and they helped mark the course. They were instrumental in the success of this event.
It was a team effort.
It really was.
So
kudos to them.
yeah.
But after that, we literally went straight from there. We were talking with a friend of mine at the sheriff's office, getting some, we were talking about where to go for a post-race meal. We got some suggestions, but then we remembered we are 7 minutes away from a place that has been recommended to us multiple times.
Yes.
And by one of our most well-known friends of the show.
Yes. Morgan the Moose Wright from American Ninja Warrior. He is a veteran. He is an outstanding and award-winning teacher. And
here locally in Cape Coral.
Yes. And he says, oh, you have to go to Bullig Coffee and Bites. You have to go.
And when he mentioned this to us at that time, we had never heard of it. We're like, what is this? And he described it. And he's like, it's this cute little house and just outside of downtown Fort Myers.
Yeah.
They've got amazing coffee and brunch items. He goes, their brunch is killer. You've got to go. And Morgan, when he eats, for a guy who's as cut up and shredded as he is, he's all muscle. But he's like super lean muscle. And but when he eats, he eats.
Yeah.
When it's cheat day for him, he's like, let's go. Let's do this. I'm all business.
He knows where to go to get the healthy stuff. He knows where to go to indulge.
Absolutely.
So, Bullig Coffee and Bites. What a beautiful space. There was a ramp to walk up as we arrived.
Which was nice for
that.
you with your knee. Yeah.
I liked that. And there were tables and chairs set up all along this wraparound porch. And the inside was closed off.
Yeah, this is a business that is still enacting a lot of the COVID precautions that many other businesses in Florida have relaxed or stopped doing altogether. This business is actually keeping that going a little while longer, and it didn't adversely impact our experience in the slightest.
No, and I think they are very smart in that you have to know your population. You have to know who regularly comes and frequents your establishment and what you are comfortable with according to who you are as a business owner. And you got to do what's right for you and your community.
And I liked the way when you walked up, they had a table set out, and the table had a doorbell, like a wireless doorbell. And when you were ready to order, you could ring the doorbell, and an employee would come out. They had the menus laying on the table, and then they said, if you want to go ahead and grab a seat, you can scan this QR code and take the menu with you.
And then we'll come and check on you and after you look at it. But we were like so mesmerized by the menu that we just stood there. And we said, what are you known for? What are you known for in terms of your, because we were feeling the savory. Now that this place is known for waffle sandwiches.
Yeah, they don't have bread. She actually made a point of saying that. We don't have bread. All of our sandwiches are served on waffles. And you can hear Danny chiming in, agreeing with us.
Yes. So waffles, homemade waffles, and it's Oma's recipe.
Oma,
Oma, which is grandmother.
I love it.
So
I love it. And the theme of this place, when we pulled in the parking lot, we actually parked behind the business, and they have their Jeep that they own that's painted almost
like an
aqua blue, Tiffany blue kind of thing.
Somewhere in between, yeah.
Yeah, has their logo on it. Mm-hmm. And I guess one of the owners was out there with her dog, and their symbol is a French bulldog.
So cute. Oh my goodness.
And the bulldog was there.
Yeah.
It was adorable.
So cute.
But so we go up there, and Aimee asks, "What are you known for?"
Yeah. And so there were menu items that had little paw prints, like dog paw prints as their favorites, or little hearts too. Mm-hmm. And I chose the "Okay, Dad, Here It Is."
That's the name of it.
Mm-hmm. That is the name of it. And so for $13.95, I got 4 strips of bacon, 2 poached eggs, cheese, dressed greens, Bullig made hollandaise sauce on a hand-poured Oma's waffle. Okay.
My mouth is watering just thinking about that, because your sandwich was gorgeous.
Perfectly poached egg. And our server made a point to ask, the person who took our order made a point to ask, do you want a firm yolk or do you want a runny yolk? Because they can do it either way, whatever you're happy with. And I was like, give me the runny yolk. Give me I don't care. We'll get extra napkins. It'll be fine.
And you have a name for those.
What?
Don't you?
What?
For runny yolk eggs.
I do?
Don't you?
Do I?
From childhood?
Oh, yes. My father would call them dippy eggs.
Dippy eggs.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because you could dip your toast in them?
Mm-hmm. Yes. In this case, when you break the yolk, then it just runs inside of the sandwich and it permeates the waffle, the savory waffle. And the bacon was 4 thinner strips of bacon, and it was like arugula, dressed greens. And what I just absolutely adored was that the hollandaise sauce was not on the sandwich. The hollandaise sauce was, you know how when you go to a coffee shop and you order shots of espresso, then you get like the mini coffee cup?
I love it. Yes.
Yes. To take with, that is what the hollandaise sauce came in, so you could pour it on at will. And
talk to me about that hollandaise sauce.
It was full. It was not like, here's a little baby espresso shot of your hollandaise, and that's it. It was like almost to the brim.
Yeah.
And it came with a top, so you could actually use the spout you would drink an espresso shot out of in a travel coffee cup. You could pour that on the sandwich, like on the different bites. So this hollandaise, citrus and the spices, the thyme and the lemon and the just
I know
unctuousness of the hollandaise sauce.
And hollandaise is one of those things. I get a little bit judgy when we go to a restaurant for hollandaise. Yeah, I do.
Really? Say it isn't so.
You know what? I've made hollandaise. It's not a difficult sauce to make. But it's an easy one to mess up.
I feel like you can come to the edge and go over. It's like cooking pork.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And they did a great job. The firmness or the consistency of the sauce was great. It didn't break. They had great spice in it. You let me taste a little bit of it.
And
I was like,
we share.
I was like, they could just hand me a shooter of this and I'll just sip this for.
I'm not going to lie. When I finished the sandwich, I had some left, and I'm not going to, I may have.
You may have tasted it?
Yeah, I may have.
All?
I may have finished it.
I don't blame you one bit.
It's all right.
I do.
But.
You nothing to apologize for.
Yours was so tempting.
Okay, I don't know which one I liked more. Yours, you let me take a bite of yours. Yours was amazing.
I was just in the mood for that kind of bacon and egg experience.
And I love poached eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, I love poached eggs. But you know what I love as much as poached eggs, being a Southern boy at heart?
The caviar of the South.
I love the caviar of the South.
Yes.
And that is pimento cheese. If you've never had pimento cheese, you're missing out. It's if you listen, if you Google a recipe, you're going to see a variation on it.
Sure.
Or a number of variations on it. And it sounds weird. It sounds
so good.
Insanely rich. It sounds crazy.
Get it.
It works.
Just get it.
It is basically a combination usually of shredded cheese, diced pimentos, mayonnaise, and cream cheese and spices.
And it can be creamier, or it can be, depending on what you do with the cheese.
Right.
It can be creamier or it can be chunkier. And I love a chunky one, but I also love the meltiness from your sandwich.
Oh, okay. So my sandwich was called the Early Dog.
Oh.
And this one is $10.95. And this is their Bullig made pimento cheese. Okay. So a house-made pimento cheese, bacon, and green onion served on a hand-poured Oma's waffle. And again, you mentioned it. These waffles were nice and airy. They had a great little bit of crunch, but mostly these were not like these super crisp Belgian waffles.
They were tender inside.
Yeah, these were a little softer, which I liked.
Stood up to the ingredients at the same time.
Yes. The combination of the salty smokiness of the bacon and the pimento cheese on mine was tangy and creamy. And okay, confession time.
All right.
If I'm going to indulge on a morning where we were maybe doing brunch and I decided to get a bagel, I'll do cream cheese.
Of course.
And I don't do just a little bit of cream cheese.
No, that's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
I like a little bagel with my cream cheese.
Exactly. I'm not getting the bagel for the bread. Just saying. It's a cream cheese delivery vehicle. Well, they absolutely knew I was coming. They give you so much of the pimento cheese, and it's so tasty. And they did a great job of melting it.
Yeah.
It was very warm all throughout. Then you got the bacon, and then the crunch and the bite from the chopped green onion, like scallions.
Freshness.
It was the perfect counterbalance to the creaminess and the heaviness of the cream cheese and in the pimento cheese and the bacon.
Creamy.
This sandwich was just heaven. It was a taste of the South. I had no complaints.
And I feel like mine was, I tried to pick it up and do the hunch, and you have photographs of me like biting into it.
I do.
But mine was, it's after you puncture the yolk, it's a knife and fork.
And truth be told, mine turned into that as well.
Yeah.
It gets to the point with these because they're not skimping on those ingredients. And mine had this herbaceous dressing that I was able to drizzle on as well that gave it a little bit of additional herb green like freshness and tartness to it that was just killer. So it was almost like, the best way I could describe that dressing was almost like a creamy chimichurri.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, and when you tasted it, I had already poured it on.
It was so good. The whole thing was just amazing.
Yeah.
And they have sweet waffle sandwiches.
I was going to say, they organize their menu so smartly. Of course, you've got your beverage section, but then they basically split their menu between sweet and savory. So smart.
Yeah, and I want to go back and I want to have some of the sweeter waffle offerings. And just sit on the porch, sip on coffee, beverage, and just
relax on a Saturday or Sunday morning.
It was just like an easygoing environment, and I really love that. It's like you could bring your family, you could sit, you could have waffles, the waffle sandwiches, and you could just enjoy each other And the weather right now is perfect. It's not too hot. It's not the rainy season. It's not freezing. It was the kind of beautiful Saturday morning that you hope for to spend time with family.
Absolutely. So I'm guessing that
Bullig.
You're saying that we'll be back.
We will be back. And thank you so much for the wonderful experience, too.
Yeah, and we are going to have a link to Bullig Coffee and Bites in the show notes, but we're not done with them because their beverage game is incredibly strong. But first, before we go on, we want to say thank you to all of our patrons for your support and the growth you've allowed us to achieve starting in 2020 and heading into 2021. I touched on it a little bit at the beginning of the show. Your sponsorship has made it possible for us to do some much needed upgrades in the studio. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate that. And the growth has continued
in 2021. And this week, we welcome a brand new $5 founder to the show, Don Brassard. And I hope I'm not butchering the last name here, Dawn.
Yeah, if we're wrong, Dawn, you let us know.
We know her as Dawn B. Disney on Instagram.
Yes.
And she recently, back in February, joined our Donna Marathon team and ran the 28 days of Donna. She signed up for the marathon and signed up and said, I'm going to do the 28 days of Donna to achieve the marathon distance. And she just recently finished that. We're so grateful for your support of the Donna Marathon Weekend events.
And proud of you for your accomplishment.
And supporting the Donna Foundation. But we are also grateful for your support as a patron of the show.
Hopefully you guys are liking the changes that we're making to our studio when we do our lives. And because of your help this week, I was able to put really the last of the finishing touches, except for the cabling. That's coming, but that's just plugging in cables. That's no big deal. The big stuff is in, and that is all thanks to you guys.
And as we hear more and more about live races returning and our Runcation Nation making plans, our patrons like Don will make it possible for us to resume Runcations and plan the first ever Runcation Nation meetup.
I heard you talking about that on this morning's coffee chat too, by the way. We need a Runcation Nation meetup. That's happening. It's happening.
So badly.
So listen, if you guys will head over to patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast, we have 3 different levels of monthly support, $2, $5, or $10. And each of those levels have their own special perks that we are continuing to add to and refine in 2021.
Yeah. Patrons get a special thank you message from us. Insiders get a look behind the scenes, access to video footage of special interviews, cooking demos, exclusive tastings of our favorite food and beverages, including bonus items that didn't make it to the show from really great places.
If you're not a patron already, we hope you'll visit patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast, learn more, and become a patron today. The show is always going to be free, but if you want more of the Run Eat Drink podcast content that you love and you want to support us for the long term, check us out, patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast.
As always, we thank everyone for any and every way you support and continue to support the Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
So let's talk drink. We didn't go anywhere. We had arrived at Bullig, and their menu was so interesting.
And I'll tell you this, we went non-alcoholic this go-round.
We did.
Yeah.
It was too early. Too early for that.
Are you kidding?
If we were in Key West, it's not too early, but...
Or post-Disney.
Right, or if you're on Disney Parks property or something.
Anyway.
But...
So we went non-alcoholic this time.
Yeah, I don't think that Bullig has beer or wine on their menu, do they?
No, but they have a shop right next door that does.
Yes.
So you can get it if you want it.
They share basically a deck and a porch with this garden shop that does beer and wine. Very
And then
cool.
They have local honey. They have some artwork in there. It's fantastic. They have certain socks that I want to go back and purchase. Yes. But we're here to talk beverages.
We are.
And their whole menu section on beverages is called Bulliquids.
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 Bulliquids. Bulliquids. Okay.
And so from that part of the menu, I got what's called the Herschel, which was a specialty offering. For $5.95, you can get it hot or iced, and I got it hot because the weather is still like that right now. So it's Oma's espresso spiked cocoa latte, toasted marshmallows, caramel, and pecans. Tomato.
There are no tomatoes or tomatoes in this drink.
No.
There are either pecans or pecans.
Yeah, you take your pick there. Pronounce it the way you want.
Yours came out. That was a gorgeous presentation of a drink.
Yes. It had 2 charred marshmallows on the top. It had the nuts on the top. It had the chocolate and I got it, of course, because marshmallow and caramel and just... It could be a meal in and of itself. It was so pretty. It came with a spoon because it was so thick.
Yeah, you got a lot of toppings on that coffee.
It was so good. There was the crunch, there was sweetness, and there were a couple of different types of sweetness from the caramel. There were chocolate chips on the top, and the texture of the freshly charred marshmallow. It was, and the cocoa latte is just, it reminds you of a time when you're young, if you had hot chocolate with the family. It just reminded me of that. So.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cocoa latte initially threw me off, but then I realized that they call it that. Some people would call it a mocha. But you let me have a taste of yours. Oh, I'm not often one for the really fancy coffee. When I was a barista, I got my fill of doing those. I'd make my own things. I'd come up with creations. But
sure.
Anymore, I tend to default to plain black coffee. Yours was delicious.
Oh, see, this is why we had a little bit of sweet and a little bit of savory from their menu. We had the savory in our food offerings, and then I had the sweet in the drink. So I didn't want to go sweet and sweet.
Right.
So.
Because I did the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And yours was awesome too.
Yeah. I went a very different route for me. This is not.
Yeah. I was shocked when you ordered this.
Yeah. This was not my normal drink. I went with something called the Dirty Bee. BEE, like the little thing that buzzes. $5.45 for the beverage. This is an espresso chai inspired latte with pure raw honey.
And these are huge drinks.
These were big drinks.
I'm just saying for the money.
And mine didn't. The 2 drinks come out. Mine is basically looks like a coffee with a travel lid.
Yes.
Smacked on it. And then you've got this work of art that comes out. I said, I feel gorgeous. I said, I feel attacked.
What do you mean you feel attacked?
I didn't get all that.
You didn't order the Herschel.
All the magic of mine was in the cup.
Yes. It was so good.
I've seen dirty chais before where a chai tea is normally, that's your cinnamon and ginger and sometimes cardamom and different spices that are put into steamed milk. And tea as well. And then that's all steamed. And then you'll see it as termed as a dirty chai where they will throw a shot of espresso in there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what they did here. And what attracted me to this, and I thought was just very novel and fun, was the fact that they were using raw honey, which I love as an ingredient. We typically don't do a lot of white sugar anymore. So normally, like for when we're doing sweeteners for anything, when we're cooking, we'll use agave nectar or sometimes raw honey. So I love raw honey. And if you've ever if you haven't bought raw honey and you go to the store and you start looking for it, it's going to look kind
different.
It's totally different than the little bear full of the amber liquid that may or may not be actual bee honey. And raw honey can be very thick. It can be almost white in color.
Yeah. Just not translucent.
Yeah, it's not processed for that shelf.
So it has that hazy kind of quality.
Yeah, it's not made to look pretty on the shelf. It's packaged raw. It's not processed. So what a great combination. You had all the spices in there that I was talking about.
But it wasn't overly sweet either.
No, this was really well balanced. They did a good job, and you had the balance. I think it was helped by the espresso. Because you get the little bitterness of the espresso, then they offset it with the raw honey, and you get a little bit of the spicy bite from things like the cinnamon and the ginger that are in the chai.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great flavor bomb of a drink. And it was, like you said, sitting on a big wraparound porch. It's really quiet in that part of downtown Fort Myers on a weekend morning.
Yeah.
And just a beautiful setting, and the house is gorgeous that they've set up shop in. This is just a fantastic drink from a wonderful hidden gem in just outside of downtown Fort Myers that I can't recommend them highly enough. I really can't.
And I can't wait to go back and try some of the sweet waffle offerings.
Absolutely.
And more from their drink menu, because we just had a couple and we had them hot. She asked me about the Herschel iced. I want to go back and sample it that way and see.
I always get nervous about iced. Like yours is really fancy, and that is made for that kind of presentation.
I know.
Hot. I don't know how that would translate iced.
But I want to try. I want to try some of their iced beverages, or when you. I just.
And you know what I also liked about the drink menu? A lot of people are probably hearing the prices we're talking about, pushing $6 for a coffee beverage and probably going, yikes. Trust me, this is one of those things. If you're the type of person who will pay $5 to $8 for a craft beer, these are not your fast food coffees. These are really, really well made. And that's coming from somebody who's done his coffee college and did some time as a barista. They did a really nice job. I also like the fact that their drink menu is not very big. They only have a handful of these house-made beverages that they do. And that tells me that they've been very careful at curating that list.
Yes. And they have a leveling system. They have if you start at the top, they start with an American Bulldog, which is an Americano. Mm-hmm. And then they go all the way down to some of the sweet, like the Herschel. And there is that coconut thing you posted, which has coconut milk in it. Mm-hmm. They say we can do vegan, we can substitute what we need to get you the drink that you want or the meal that you want.
Yeah.
So
it's nice that they do that.
Yeah. Oh.
She's reading the menu here and going, ooh.
Sorry.
All the
things that we missed and we need to go back and
something
have
tells
again.
me we're going back this weekend. That may happen.
Maybe. Anyway, it's a great local place. And if you're local or if you come into town for a race or to visit your favorite podcasters.
Yes, if you are going to be traveling to the Southwest Florida area, the beaches of Sanibel, Captiva, Fort Myers, or Cape Coral, let us know when you're in the area. We would love to meet up with you and maybe check out a place like Bullig. Mm-hmm. And maybe we can get a chance to pet that cute little French bulldog.
Oh, it's so cute. Oh, we're dog people.
But this is definitely a place that's worth you putting on your to-do list if you're coming down here. In all seriousness, check them out.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to do it for this week.
Is the running, eating, and drinking portion of our show.
We have stuff coming up next week.
Yes, you must stay tuned for more fun with us. It could be more coffee fun. It could be an interview. Who knows what it will be?
We're working.
Yes.
We've got some stuff up our sleeve. We're not going to say what it is.
So we'll keep you on your toes and coming back. And if you haven't yet shared the Run Eat Drink podcast and your favorite podcasters with someone, please, on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, do us a favor. Share us. Tag us. Bring a friend along to the Runcation Nation. On Instagram and Facebook, we're at Run Eat Drink Podcast. And on Twitter, we're at Run Eat Drink Pod.
Yeah, for us, it's not about the numbers, but we are trying to grow the show. And we just crossed the 600 likers on Facebook mark in the last week. Thank you guys very much who have recently joined the Runcation Nation over on Facebook. By the way, you can join the Runcation Nation on Facebook just by liking us, but we want you to also join the Runcation Nation Facebook group. Just do a search for that. Click on the request to join. We just want to make sure you're not a robot. We would love to have you in there. We like to share a lot of funny memes and sometimes recipes and sometimes videos and debates and polls and all that good stuff. But yeah, by sharing us on your social media, you're going to help us grow the Runcation Nation, help us get discovered. And we cannot thank you enough for doing that for us.
Yes, our shameless plug to bring more people like you into the fold.
So that when we finally do that meetup, it's going to be epic. Yeah.
So, well, thank you. Thank you for joining us on your long run, your commute to work, around the house, wherever you are. I'm your host, Aimee.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
Stay safe, stay well, and we will accomplish, explore, and indulge with you really soon. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We're having another great year thanks to your support. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Run, Eat, Drink Podcast. And on Twitter, we're Run, Eat, Drink Pod. You can also give us a call at 941-677-2733 or send us an email at info@runeatdrink.net. Visit our website at runeatdrink.net and click on the subscribe link so you don't miss a minute. Find out how you can support the show at patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast. Accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with us. We'll talk to you next time.